The young police officer, sweat beading on her forehead, bowed her head to sign the ticket. Onlookers snickered, getting fined and not even embarrassed about it. Her German shepherd stood vigilant beside her, eyes alert, never leaving a corner of the parking lot. Then, a sharp bark, a threat exposed, and horror dawned on the faces of those who had been laughing moments before. If you believe silent dedication deserves respect, subscribe to hear more stories like this one. Officer Emily Hart was 29 years old, assigned to patrol the downtown security district with her partner Max, a highly trained German shepherd with an exceptional nose for weapons and explosives. Max wasn't just a working dog to Emily. He was a loyal companion who had helped her through the toughest days of her career and personal life. For 3 years, they'd worked in perfect harmony, Emily's calm intelligence complemented by Max's unwavering instincts. Together, they'd located 12 weapons caches and prevented what could have been devastating incidents in crowded areas. Their partnership had earned them multiple commendations, though Emily always deflected praise to her four-legged partner. Every morning before their shift, Emily would take Max for a special training exercise, reinforcing their bond and keeping his detection skills sharp. She'd spend her own money on advanced training courses to ensure Max remained one of the department's most effective canine officers. That morning, the department had received an anonymous tip about potential suspicious activity at the central parking garage. Emily and Max were dispatched to conduct. As Emily returned to her vehicle, a parking enforcement officer approached with determined strides. "Official vehicle or not, this is a no parking zone," he announced, already writing on his ticket pad. Emily explained the emergency situation she'd just handled. "I had to respond quickly to a medical emergency. I couldn't waste time finding proper parking when someone needed immediate help." The enforcement officer smirked. "That's what they all say. Rules apply to everyone, including the police, or should I say, especially the police." A small crowd had gathered, watching the exchange with evident interest. Several people had phones out, recording the unusual sight of a police officer being ticketed. "Look at that, even cops get busted," someone commented loudly. "About time they got a taste of their own medicine," another added. Emily could have argued further. She could have called her supervisor or demanded to speak with the parking official's manager. Instead, she simply sighed and accepted the ticket. "I understand. I'll move my vehicle immediately," she said, signing the citation with quiet dignity. Max sat attentively beside her, ears perked forward, sensing his handler's discomfort. He gave a low whine, and Emily gently patted his head. "It's okay, boy, just part of the job." The parking enforcement officer seemed almost disappointed by her calm acceptance. He'd clearly expected an argument, perhaps even hoped for one, an opportunity to demonstrate authority over someone who typically wielded it. "Make sure it doesn't happen again," he added unnecessarily, before walking away with an exaggerated swagger. As Emily moved her patrol car to a designated spot, she overheard comments from the dispersing crowd. "Police think they're above the law. She probably tickets people all day but can't take it herself. That dog looks mean. Bet they use him to intimidate people." No one noticed how Emily's shoulders slumped slightly under the weight of those words. No one saw the fatigue in her eyes from working a double shift the previous day when a colleague called in sick. No one knew she donated half her last paycheck to a fund for families of fallen officers. They saw only the uniform, not the person wearing it. As Emily and Max finally began their assigned patrol of the parking structure, she pushed aside the sting of public ridicule. Their security sweep was the priority now, checking between vehicles, scanning for anything out of place, maintaining vigilance despite the earlier humiliation. "Come on, Max," she whispered. "Let's do our job." Max padded beside her, alert and focused despite the earlier disturbance. His training allowed no room for distraction, a quality Emily now tried to emulate as they moved methodically through the rows of parked cars. 20 minutes into their patrol, Emily was still trying to shake off the public embarrassment of being ticketed. The incident replayed in her mind as she walked the concrete aisles of the parking garage. The snickers, the phone cameras, the judgment from strangers who knew nothing about her dedication to service. A group of young men lounging beside a sports car noticed her approaching and nudged each other. "Hey, officer, park in the wrong spot again?" one called out, triggering laughter from his friends. Emily maintained her professional demeanor, nodding politely without engaging. Beside her, Max remained disciplined and focused, though his ears twitched at the hostile tones. "What's the dog for? Sniffing out parking violations?" Another jeered. Emily continued past them, her pace steady. "Just conducting a routine security check, gentlemen. Have a good afternoon." She had nearly reached the end of the third level when Max's behavior suddenly changed. His body stiffened, nose working rapidly, ears fully erect. Emily immediately recognized the signal. Max had detected something concerning. "What is it, boy?" she whispered, instantly switching to full alert. Max pulled slightly toward a weathered gray van parked between two pillars in a dimly lit corner. His movements became more deliberate. His breathing pattern changed in the specific way Emily had been trained to recognize. The dog had detected either explosives or firearms. Emily discreetly activated the silent alarm on her radio, calling for backup without announcing her discovery. She maintained a casual appearance while guiding Max in a controlled perimeter around the suspicious vehicle. Max confirmed with increasing certainty something dangerous was inside that van. His training prevented him from barking immediately, instead signaling to Emily through subtle body language that civilians wouldn't notice. Just as Emily positioned herself to maintain visual contact with the vehicle while awaiting backup, a man in a bulky jacket emerged from the stairwell. He froze momentarily upon seeing the officer and her dog, then abruptly changed direction, walking briskly toward the exit ramp. The man's reaction, combined with Max's alert, confirmed Emily's suspicions. Max now gave a sharp, authoritative bark, the final confirmation signal he was trained to provide when a threat was certain. "Police, stop right there," Emily commanded, simultaneously drawing her weapon and positioning herself between the potential threat and the civilians still lingering nearby. The man broke into a run, shoving past the same young men who had mocked Emily minutes earlier. Without hesitation, she pursued him, with Max keeping perfect pace beside her. "Clear the area," she shouted to bystanders as she ran. "Everyone down to ground level now." The parking enforcement officer, who had ticketed her earlier, stood frozen in shock as Emily sprinted past, fully focused on protecting the public from whatever threat Max had detected. Within minutes, responding units flooded the garage, cutting off the suspect's escape routes. The man was cornered and apprehended at the exit ramp, while a tactical team approached the gray van. Their discovery sent chills through the entire department. An assault rifle with multiple loaded magazines, 3 handguns with serial numbers filed off, a homemade explosive device with a timer set for 30 minutes later, a detailed map of the shopping complex adjacent to the parking structure. The intended target was clearly the crowded shopping center where hundreds of people, including many families with children, were currently shopping. The same people who had laughed at Emily now stood in stunned silence behind the police tape, watching as the bomb squad carefully removed the explosive device. "She knew," whispered one of the young men who had mocked her earlier. "Somehow she knew while we were just making fun of her." A mother clutched her child close, tears streaming down her face. "We were going to the food court for lunch. We would have been right there when—" The parking enforcement officer approached Emily's supervisor, his face ashen. "She was helping someone when I gave her that ticket. I didn't believe her, but she was actually saving lives even then. There are heroes walking among us who endure mockery and disrespect, yet still stand between us and danger without hesitation. If you believe those who protect us deserve our respect, even when we don't understand their actions, subscribe to hear more stories like this one." By evening, the story had spread across local and national news channels. "Police officer fined while on duty prevents mass casualty attack." K9 hero detects bomb set to explode in crowded shopping center. Officer insulted by public saves their lives. Hours later. The security footage from the parking garage went viral, showing Emily accepting the ticket with dignity, then later racing through the same space to intercept the would-be attacker. The contrast was striking. Humiliation followed by heroism in the same location, separated by mere minutes. The police department called a press conference where the chief personally addressed the city. Today, Officer Emily Hart and her K9 partner Max demonstrated what true public service looks like. It isn't about recognition or appreciation. It's about doing the right thing, especially when no one is watching. or worse, when people are watching and completely misunderstanding what they see. Reporters thrust microphones toward Emily, who stood uncomfortably in the spotlight. Unlike most officers who might savor such vindication, she seemed embarrassed by the attention. "I was just doing my job," she said simply, "and Max was doing his. That's all." When pressed about how she felt being mocked by the very people she later saved, Emily paused thoughtfully. "In this uniform, you learn quickly that people judge based on partial information. They saw a police officer getting a ticket and made assumptions about me. Just like sometimes officers might make assumptions about civilians. We're all human. What matters is looking beyond those first impressions." The parking enforcement officer who had issued the ticket approached the microphone, visibly emotional. "I owe Officer Hart a public apology," he stated. "I was more interested in enforcing the letter of the law than understanding its spirit. I didn't listen when she explained she was helping someone. My actions could have discouraged her from continuing her patrol, a patrol that saved countless lives." The mayor stepped forward, announcing the immediate cancellation of Emily's parking ticket and the creation of a new protocol for emergency vehicles responding to situations outside designated areas. Meanwhile, the young men who had mocked Emily started a social media campaign called #RespectTheUniform, encouraging people to consider the challenges faced by public servants before passing judgment. The elderly man Emily had helped came forward, bringing with him security footage from a nearby business, showing Emily rushing to his aid. "She saved my life first, then saved hundreds more," he said, his voice breaking. "And in between, she was punished for doing the right thing." As the full story emerged, investigators revealed more details about the thwarted attack. The suspect had planned one of the deadliest mass casualty events in the city's history. The shopping center would have been packed with over 800 people at the time the bomb was set to detonate. If Officer Hart had let the earlier incident discourage her, if she had decided to cut her patrol short or stick to more visible areas where she wouldn't face ridicule, we would be counting bodies instead of blessings, the FBI liaison stated grimly. When asked what she wanted as recognition for her heroism, Emily's request surprised everyone. Better protective gear for K-9 officers like Max. They run toward the same dangers we do, but often with less protection. Within days, donations flooded in from across the country. Not only was enough money raised to outfit every police dog in the department with cutting-edge protective vests, but a national foundation pledged to extend the program to departments nationwide. At a small ceremony a week later, Max was fitted with his new custom protective gear, emblazoned with his name and the department insignia. For once, Emily smiled broadly as her partner pranced around, showing off his new equipment. A little girl approached timidly, holding a hand-drawn card depicting Max as a superhero. "Is it okay if I pet the hero dog?" she asked. Emily knelt down to the child's level. "Max would like that very much. And you know what? He doesn't even remember the people who were mean before. He just focuses on doing good things." The child looked thoughtful as she gently stroked Max's fur. "Like you," she said simply. Emily blinked back unexpected tears. "We try our best. That's all anyone can do." As they left the ceremony, Emily noticed something different. People no longer averted their eyes when she passed. Instead, they met her gaze, often with a nod of respect or a small smile of gratitude. Not for the headline-making heroics, but for the quiet dedication that had always been there, now finally seen and understood. 6 months later, little had changed in Emily and Max's daily routine. They still patrolled their assigned areas with the same vigilance, responded to calls with the same urgency, and maintained the same professional demeanor. What had changed was the community around them. The parking garage where it all happened installed a small bronze plaque. On this spot, judgment was suspended, heroism prevailed, and lives were saved. Thank you to those who serve without requiring thanks. Children in local schools began writing letters to K-9 units across the country. Max received so many that Emily had to set up a special email address just for his fan mail. The department incorporated Emily's experience into their training program, not just the tactical success, but the lesson in perseverance through public misunderstanding. One afternoon, Emily and Max entered a coffee shop for a quick break. As she reached for her wallet, the barista shook her head. Your money's no good here, Officer Hart. Not after what you did. Emily began her usual protest about just doing her job, but the barista interrupted gently. It's not about the headline moment. It's about all the days before and since, when you've done the right thing without anyone noticing. As Emily took her coffee to a corner table, an elderly woman approached, resting a weathered hand on her shoulder. My late husband was an officer for 30 years, she said softly. He always told me the true measure of a police officer isn't what they do when everyone's watching, but what they do when they think no one is. Max rested his head on Emily's lap as she absently stroked his ears, reflecting on the woman's words. True heroes don't need spotlights. They illuminate the world through consistent acts of service, whether appreciated or not. The uniform Emily wore wasn't just cloth and badge. It was a daily commitment to stand between danger and the community she served, regardless of thanks or criticism. If you believe everyday heroes deserve recognition, subscribe to TT Hero Stories. TT Hero Stories. Because some heroes never stop serving.